Brian Windhorst believes that the New York Knicks could, in fact, be waiting for the perfect blockbuster move to make and are waiting very patiently. And also, one of the Knicks' many superstar targets could be getting targeted by one of their rivals. And we're going to talk about all this. So, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. My name is Chris. And let's waste no time and jump right into this because Brian Windhorst believes that the New York Knicks have been waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike for a superstar once one asks out for a trade or becomes available in free agency. Essentially, in an article that recently came out, Windhorst was really talking about just the landscape of every team and the likelihood of trades that they could make and what they need. And here's what he had to say about the Knicks. He said that the Knicks roster hole is any star and said the Knicks have a solid, deep defense-first team, but they lack a difference-making talent and have been trying to acquire one for as long as anyone can remember. They have 7 tradable first-rounders and 12 tradable second-round picks, and the chances of a significant trade are a maybe. The Knicks could make a massive offer if a star comes to the market, but they would have to show patience, or they have shown patience, and have been waiting for the perfect move, said Windhorst. I agree that they have been very patient. They've been waiting. As we know, the Donovan Mitchell stuff came up, and the Knicks ended up passing because Danny Ainge asked for way too much. He was asking for basically every young player that the Knicks had. Around 10 million first-round picks. Leon Rose's entire left arm. The Knicks, they just asked for Madison Square Garden. They asked for everything. For a guy who, as great as Donovan is, hadn't shown enough to be worth everything. Now, there are guys who are going to be worth all the picks the Knicks have, multiple young players, and really what I'm talking about is one guy, and his name is Luka Doncic. Look, right now the Mavs would have no interest in trading Luka. It doesn't really make sense. They're really good right now. They just beat the Lakers, who won the in-season tournament, and they're balling out. And mainly that's due to Luka, who's averaging 32, 8, and 8, and is putting up a nearly MVP campaign. But at the same time, how much is this? Are they good only because of Luka? Yeah, Kyrie Irving's a tremendous player, and it's great to have him, and it felt like a last-ditch effort to show that the Mavericks can put something around Luka, and I think it was the right move by them to both trade for and re-sign him. Derek Lively was a great draft pick. He's an excellent center to pair next to them. He's shown so much promise as a rookie that it has definitely extended the timeline of how much time before Luka requests a trade. And I do think the Knicks are monitoring that because the Knicks are one of the teams that would be the frontrunners to land Luka. As we see right here, an anonymous Eastern Conference general manager informed Heavy Sports that should the Mavs shop Luka, the Knicks would be at the top of their list when it comes to trades they would look to negotiate with. Now, this was back in April, back when the Mavs were a complete dumpster fire around Luka. But things, it's not like they're much better right now, and we'll go into that. But essentially what the Eastern Conference GM had to say was, I'm sure the Knicks would be the first team the Mavs would call if they wanted to move Luka. Maybe OKC first because of the picks, but the Knicks right now would be the first team. They would have to send out a huge, huge number of picks to get him. And I think that's fair. Like, it's Luka Doncic. He's young. He's tremendous. He's had a historic start to his NBA career. And the Knicks are not in your conference. If you look at a team like the Thunder, yeah, you could probably get like Jalen Williams, something that matches salary, a lot of picks. But then you're trading him within the conference, which does not feel likely with a guy like Luka Doncic. For instance, when the Nets wanted to trade Kevin Durant, they traded him to the Suns. They traded him out of the conference. Teams usually are not trading other star players inside of their conference where you're going to have to deal with them before the NBA Finals, should you both make it there, where you might have to see them 3-4 times a year instead of 2. That's something very important, and teams don't want to be that team that trades Luka Doncic into a West Coast team. Like, the Mavs would not want to trade Luka and pair him up with Shea and then be that team that did that to the Western Conference. That's going to upset other GMs. It's going to make a powerhouse that the Mavs are going to have to see often, and a team that if the Mavs are able to bounce back because they totally have to tank, Luka and Shea aren't going anywhere. They're super young, so I don't think the Mavs would want to pair them up. I think they would rather move him to the Knicks, where you could get a ton of assets back still, and also probably not have to deal with the Knicks unless you both are making the NBA Finals at the same time. And again, the Mavericks having any success without Luka feels unlikely for a few years. So I think it would all make sense to trade him outside of the conference. But right now the Mavs are good. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been excellent as a sixth man. Kyrie Irving's obviously Kyrie Irving. There's not that much to say there. When he's on the court, which is rare, he's tremendous. Derek Lively's been great. They They have a solid team. They have a good enough team to contend right now to the point where Luka won't need anything or won't need to request a trade. But they're also not that far off. If Kyrie keeps getting injured, if the Mavs lose in the first round, Luka's been there a long enough time to be like, all right, I'll give you one more year and then I'm going to request a trade. And maybe he said that last summer, which is very feasible considering they missed the playoffs entirely with Luka and Kyrie on the team. Obviously, Kyrie came halfway through the season, but it doesn't matter. You had Luka and you managed to miss the playoffs. You kept your coach around, and now things are looking up a little bit. But still, it's not like they're a great team with no flaws. They have a ton of flaws. The major thing is that they have Luka, who just forces teams to win because he has that incredibly high usage rate, and there's a chance that he could get sick of that and want to play on a team where he doesn't have to carry them just so they could make the second round. So that's sort of something to be very aware of. And also, if you just look right here, back in June, here's what was really said is that there's a strong sense of urgency within the organization to expedite the process before Doncic loses faith in the Mavericks' ability to build a contender around him. He's wrapping up the first season of his 5-year, $215 million Supermax extension. And team sources have acknowledged to ESPN that fear exists that Doncic, who publicly and privately expressed extreme frustration this season, being last season, could consider requesting a trade as soon as the summer of 2024 if Dallas doesn't make significant progress by then. That's what I mean by last summer. There's a good chance where Luka said, do something that works or I'm requesting a trade next year. This is your final year. Now, if the Mavs lose in the first round, I don't think that's going to be enough progress because the Mavs have made the second round a few times. They've almost made the conference finals where Luka's going to be like, oh no, we made the first round again. Who cares? Good enough. Good enough. We're one of the 16 of the 30 NBA teams to make the first round. We're one of the 20 of the 30 NBA teams to have gotten within the play-in or better. Like, it's not that much. You're still going to be a team that's over half the league, because over half the league makes the first round. So that's exactly not going to be enough for Luka. And I think you would need a lot. And I think that he would become a realistic target. And also, then if you move on to someone like Zion, Bill Simmons said a few days ago on his podcast that came out December 8th that he thinks they had a chance to trade Zion last summer when he was speaking about the Pelicans and Zion, obviously. He said that he's also heard there weren't a lot of people knocking at the door. It's like, did they try? Did they not? It was one person who told him, hey, don't be surprised if they trade Zion this week. That was it. But I think they might have missed their window now. I don't know what you're going to get for him. And there's not just that. There is more. If you look here, it recently came out that the Pelicans have repeatedly stressed to Zion that his diet and conditioning need to improve, but the former number one pick does not listen. We all remember the tweet as Knicks fans when we watched on 2019, hoping those ping pong balls would go our way and would land to Zion Williamson, when it said that Zion Williamson was quickly whisked out of the draft room once it became apparent that the Pelicans would be drafting him. His team was hoping for the Knicks. They did not get what they wanted. Zion did not get what they wanted. We've seen Zion act out a little bit, and he's young. I'm young. I understand. Sometimes you're a young person and you get upset with stuff and it becomes public and it's not who you are. Doesn't mean Zion's a bad person. He's never done anything that shows he's some terrible human being. But he clearly is not thrilled in New Orleans. He's clearly never been thrilled in New Orleans. He's spoken so highly about the Knicks, like that time when he was glowing speaking about playing in MSG, when he was in a Pelicans press conference and then lazily said, it's my favorite place to play after New Orleans, of course. Like, no, you didn't mean that. You meant it's your favorite place to play, Zion, and say that with your chest out. I know you're playing damage control and that's the right thing to do, but still. And we've talked about Zion a lot, which is why I went into the Luka stuff a little bit more than Zion. But the Knicks could make the move for him. He's a CAA client. He knows them well. He's RJ Barrett's former college roommate. They're really close friends. He played AAU with Quickly. So if the Knicks decide, hey, we want to move in a different direction that's away from Julius Randle and maybe make a team that is more suited to contend in the next 3 years instead of, I don't know, right now as we tread water waiting for a superstar, they could do that. Also, Julius Randle has unequivocally been better than Zion Williamson this season. I know Randle had a slow start, but since then he's been playing tremendous all-NBA basketball once again. In his last 8 games, he's averaging 28 points per game on really efficient shooting numbers. Zion is not. So the Knicks would basically not have to give up much outside of Randle, and Randle's a tremendous player. It would suck to lose him, especially in a gamble like this. But if you're looking at the NBA landscape and you're like, hey, we cannot contend within the next 3 or so years, we could do this. We could try. And is that the perfect move? No, it's not. And then it comes down to one more guy after that, because Zion's got all those flaws in the world, as much upside as there is. And that last name is the one that we've talked about the most on this channel by far. It's Donovan Mitchell. And the Knicks could go for Donovan. There's a real good chance that Donovan's on his way out of Cleveland already. It's been a disappointment so far, and that's not Donovan Mitchell's fault. He's been playing well, but everyone else has not been there. Cleveland has not improved the way they thought they would after getting a star like Donovan. They were thinking, okay, the rest of the team will improve. They'll catch up. Evan Mobley will become the best player on the team. Then our second, third, and fourth best players could be Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen, or whoever they trade Jarrett Allen for to make more of a fluid fit for Mobley. And then Darius Garland. But no, and Isaac Okoro. But none of that's happened. Garland has sort of been iffy this season. Evan Mobley doesn't know how to play offense still. Jarrett Allen's never known how to play offense. And Donovan Mitchell is now, once again, carrying a team. And he doesn't want that. The Cavs don't want that. And Donovan does not want to be in Cleveland, most likely. So he's probably going to walk in free agency if the Cavs don't trade him. The thing is, will the Knicks be able to get him? Because their crosstown rivals, the Brooklyn Nets, are very interested. As put by Bleacher Report today, when this video is coming out on Wednesday, December 13th, 2023, everyone expects and has expected Mitchell to leave the Cavs in free agency. There's conflicting belief whether or not Mitchell has informed the Cavs of anything regarding his future, and one name that he's heard from multiple sources to look out for if the Knicks can't get the deal done for Mitchell is the always star-shopping Brooklyn Nets, who have a plethora of assets to get such a deal done. Remember, the Nets have all those assets from trading Kevin Durant, and they also have some young players to work with. But it's really one of those things where it's like the Nets have nothing to lose, so that's why they would go for it. They don't have their own draft picks, so tanking's basically impossible. They're in the NBA's version of purgatory, and there's no real way out unless you somehow manage to land a star. And even getting Donovan Mitchell is not going to change their entire world, but it will help them so much because right now they are literally in the NBA's purgatory, where it feels like they're going to be a play-in team for the next 4 years, which is not what you want at all. Play-in teams are for teams that either know they have to blow it up or had a year full of injuries, or are a super young team that's finally breaking through, and that's it. You don't want to consistently be in the play-in. It's a horrific look, and the Nets managed to consistently be in the play-in, even when they had Durant. So it's one of those things where it's not that appealing, and the highlight here, remember, is if the Knicks can't get it done, the Knicks will be able to get it done. If they want to get Donovan Mitchell in free agency and basically just move cap around to get it done, Brock Aller is a cap expert. He would know how to do it. The Knicks would figure it out, and they would get Donovan for cheap. And that, guess what? As much as I've said the Knicks shouldn't really go for a Donovan Mitchell trade, if you can get that guy in free agency and give up nothing that represents similar value, you do that 100% of the time. If you can get Donovan Mitchell for basically nothing, you get him and you figure the rest out later. And that would be the perfect move for the Knicks, along with potentially going for Luka, along with potentially going for Zion, or his teammate Brandon Ingram. Zion's got the most problems because you'd have to move Julius, who's been better this year and all that. But again, if you want to take a risk, that could become the perfect move should everything work out, or it could become a disastrous move that absolutely ruins you if you're the Knicks. So I don't know if that's the perfect move, and I don't know what is. Leon Rose is very unclear with what he does, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. So make sure to stay tuned. Comment below who you think the Knicks are targeting or should target. That's the perfect move for them. I know there's going to be a Paul George comment somewhere there. Go for it. Do it. Have a great day, guys. And remember, go Knicks.